Smokey and the Bandit. Now that was the first that was your first, if I'm not mistaken, first big box office hit, right? Reynolds before, or is that the movie that you met him on?
Yes, he called. We just wrapped Sybil. I was sort of dragging myself around and called and said, we're going to send you this script, but before you read it, I just want you to know the script is terrible, but we could make it something.
Sally Field walked onto the set expecting collaboration with some of Hollywood's biggest names. What she got instead was heartbreak, intimidation, and betrayal. These are the 7 men who made her life miserable. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Iconic roles, wild headlines, and, well, lots of women. Dinah Shore, Catherine Deneuve, Sally Field, Lonnie Anderson.
That your biggest regret was not making it work with Sally Field. And you have said recently that you still miss her terribly.
You know, because of flying and that stuff. And she was the best actress I ever worked.
Number 1, Bert Reynolds. Sally Field and Bert Reynolds were the golden couple of the late 1970s. Their chemistry, both on and off screen, fascinated the public. To fans, they seemed inseparable, starring in hit movies like Smokey and the Bandit, while sharing a whirlwind romance that dominated tabloid covers. But beneath the surface, Field's relationship with Reynolds was far from the fairy tale Hollywood imagined. It was marked by emotional manipulation and control. One of the most glaring examples came when Sally was offered the role of a lifetime, Norma Ray. Bert, whose career was already at its peak, did everything he could to dissuade her from taking it. He dismissed the film's importance and planted seeds of self-doubt, making her question her own judgment and ambition. It was as though he couldn't handle her stepping into the spotlight in such a profound way. For Sally, this dynamic wasn't just limiting professionally, it chipped away at her confidence, leaving her grappling with the toll of his need for dominance.
But Reynolds, this very important relationship, because because it was Smokey in the Band.
But he said he thought we could sort of ad-lib our way through it. And then he said he always loved me in Gidget. And I thought, he loved me in Gidget, and that's why he wants to have me sit next to him. And
years later, Bert admitted he regretted not marrying Sally, but by then, she had found her strength. Her recognition of the imbalance in their relationship became a turning point that allowed her to reclaim her sense of self. Number 2, Tommy Lee Jones. On the set of Lincoln, Sally Field was excited to work alongside a legendary cast, including Tommy Lee Jones, an actor she deeply respected. Field saw the film as an opportunity for creative collaboration, but her hopes were met with cold rejection. According to Field, Jones remained distant throughout the production, rarely engaging with her when the cameras weren't rolling. His demeanor was stoic and dismissive, leaving no room for meaningful interaction. What made things harder was Jones's refusal to rehearse. For Field, preparation was key to unlocking the emotional depth required for her role, and without that shared effort, she felt a wall between them. While his talent was undeniable, his unwillingness to connect undermined the dynamic Field had envisioned for their on-screen relationship. This lack of collaboration created an isolating atmosphere, one that left her questioning how to navigate such creative dissonance. Field later described this experience as one of her most disappointing, especially given the contrasting warmth she found in the rest of her co-stars. But this wouldn't be the last time a co-star made her feel unseen. Number 3, James Garner. In Murphy's Romance, Sally Field and James Garner shared a warmth on screen that felt effortless, but off camera, the dynamic was noticeably different. Field approached the project with her usual intensity, focusing on emotional depth and nuance in her performance. Garner, in contrast, was far more straightforward and reliant on instinct, preferring to keep things simple and easygoing. Their opposing methods created an emotional distance that neither seemed willing, or perhaps able, to bridge. Field found herself frustrated by Garner's lack of deeper engagement in their scenes, especially as she tried to dig into the subtleties of their characters' relationship. Garner, on the other hand, rarely deviated from his pragmatic style, which left little room for the collaborative exploration she hoped for. This quiet gap in their approaches led to an unspoken tension on set, with the two speaking little outside of what was necessary for filming. Despite the film's success, Field later reflected on the experience as one of creative discomfort. She learned to navigate this disconnection alone, but not all future collaborators would be quite so restrained. Number 4, Robin Williams. Working with Robin Williams on Mrs. Doubtfire sounded like a dream come true. Sally Field admired his talent and believed his comedic genius would bring something magical to the film, but the reality of sharing the screen with Williams proved far more challenging than she anticipated. His boundless energy and constant improvisation made staying in rhythm nearly impossible for Field, whose approach to acting relied heavily on preparation and emotional focus. Day after day, Williams brought an unstoppable whirlwind of jokes, character shifts, and unexpected ad-libs that could completely change the tone of a scene in an instant. Field found herself struggling to maintain her footing and stay true to Miranda's emotional journey amid the chaos. At one point, she even approached the director to ask for greater structure during filming, just so she could deliver her lines without being thrown off course by his unpredictable genius. While Field never doubted Williams' brilliance, the process left her mentally drained. Still, their chemistry lit up the screen, masking the chaos behind it all. Not every improviser, however, would prove so overwhelming. Number 5, Jeff Bridges. On the set of Kiss Me Goodbye. Sally Field arrived with a clear vision for her performance. She had prepared extensively, crafting every detail of her character's emotional arc. Jeff Bridges, however, took a far more spontaneous approach. His laid-back and improvisational style, while naturally charming, often disrupted the flow of scenes. Field's investment in portraying the emotional depth of her character wasn't matched by Bridges, whose playful attitude made it difficult for her to find the chemistry that the romantic comedy required. At times, she felt disrespected. Scenes she had meticulously prepared for were treated casually, like an afterthought. Reflecting on the experience, Field admitted it was exhausting, a reminder that not every co-star is suited for collaboration. Nonetheless, this taught her how to stay grounded in her own approach, regardless of the challenges. Number 6, Marlon Brando. Sally Field only met Marlon Brando once, but that brief encounter left a stain she wouldn't forget. Brando's ego was front and center long before he even entered the room. Field later remarked that his ego arrived 10 minutes before he did. From the moment they sat down, it became clear Brando wasn't looking for a dialogue. He dominated the conversation, talking over Field repeatedly and ignoring any contributions she tried to make. His dismissive attitude made her feel insignificant, as if her ideas were inconsequential next to his larger-than-life persona. But things took a darker turn when Brando's remarks crossed the line. What should have been a professional meeting devolved as his comments became unsettlingly inappropriate, leaving Field uncomfortable and objectified. Rather than engaging with her as a potential collaborator, he treated her presence as something to be dismissed, or worse, exploited. Number 7, Paul Newman. Paul Newman had a reputation as one of Hollywood's most gracious stars, but when Sally Field worked with him on Absence of Malice, the experience left her feeling sidelined. Newman, already an icon at this stage of his career, often made significant creative decisions, adjusting the tone or delivery of scenes without Field's input. While his choices weren't malicious, they unintentionally pushed her out of the conversation, leaving her contributions overlooked. For Field, who was still fighting to establish herself in Hollywood, the dynamic was quietly diminishing. What made the situation harder was Newman's overwhelming presence on set. His authority and reputation commanded attention, creating a power imbalance that left Field feeling invisible. No matter how much effort she poured into her work, the attention always shifted toward him. Field later described the experience as a quiet disappointment, feeling her efforts weren't erased because of her talent, but because she wasn't given a seat at the creative table. Sally Field's career isn't just a showcase of remarkable performances, it's a testament to resilience in the face of Hollywood's hidden struggles.
Talk about in the book the casting couch, that there was a very well-known director that forced you to kiss him and that asked you to show him your breasts.
And the circumstances that I kept finding myself in were pre-formed ruts in my road or good places to be. I was used to it. I knew what that was. I had been there before. I grew up in it.
Behind every award and iconic role were challenges that forced her to navigate power dynamics and emotional manipulation, all while maintaining her sense of self. From domineering co-stars to dismissive legends, Field experienced firsthand how even celebrated figures could create isolating or toxic environments. These stories remind us that the industry's glamour often conceals these complexities. Through it all, Field refused to shrink, proving that dignity and determination can endure long after the cameras stop rolling. Hollywood didn't break her, it strengthened her.